You're now tuned in to Global Impact, the podcast that covers subjects relevant to today's society. Whether it's local or international, your host will be sure to bring it to you right here. Get ready for a life-changing experience with your host. I Got Something to Say with Stacey J.
Hello and welcome to Global Impact with Stacey J. I am your host and I have something to say. On this podcast, we discuss issues that happen here locally in my hometown of Detroit, Michigan, and across the globe. Many of you know that I am an ardent advocate and educator against human trafficking. I've written plays about it, along with juvenile delinquency, Alzheimer's, and I plan to sound the alarm about much more. We hope to bring more awareness about autism, ADHD, anxiety, depression, and many other mental health issues that affect us. As a breast cancer survivor, we will continue to bring health concerns to this podcast. And we look forward to having experts in the financial literacy arena who are passionate about financial peace. Our platform is to sound the alarm and spotlight concerns that will educate and impact.
Listen up, everybody, come and gather around. Let's listen to the hottest podcast in town. It's the Global Impact with your girl Stacey J. It's covering all the topics, not gossip, no way. Cause she got something to say, yeah. Says she got something to say, Stacey J.
Hello. We're on Global Impact with Stacey J. I'm Stacey J and I got something to say.
Say it.
So today we have a special show. We have a very wonderful guest, a special guest that's near and dear to my heart, Dr. Sabrina Black. So I'm so grateful. And she's busy. She is a world traveler. She travels around the globe. But so glad that you were able to take the time out to fit us in your schedule. So thank you. And today we're here to talk about grief. Wow. And Dr. Black wrote a book, as you can see right here. It says, "It's Not Okay. How we respond to people who are grieving and what to do about it." Wow. Before we delve into this much needed book, because there are so many people that I run into. There are many people that have crossed my paths that are they're grieving. They're still grieving. Yeah. They have had people tell them, okay, wrap this up, stop. You need to, go on with your life. And this, we're going to talk about expiration dates for grieving. I don't know if that's appropriate. Yes, okay, right. There's no such thing. And so there are people, though, that do believe that, but we'll get into that in a minute. But before we get into the book, please tell us about yourself.
Well, first of all, Stacey, thank you so much for having me today. And I am just honored to be here on the podcast. I know Stacey J has something to say. Yes. And I'm glad to be able to say it with you. So you already introduced me as Dr. Sabrina Black, yes. Reverend Dr. Black for some people, Elder Black in other circles. But I'm a woman who loves God and loves God's people. And when I think about the fact how much I love him, I want to serve him and serve people and make a difference. And the Lord has opened a lot of doors for me to be able to do that literally all over the world. And so I'm a counselor, I'm a professor, I'm an author, I'm a global humanitarian. I think you and I initially connected around the work of human trafficking.
Yes.
And so I just want to be of service to God's people in whatever way I can. So whether that's through preaching and teaching, through counseling, through writing books and resources to help people, that's what I do.
Okay, wonderful.
But let me tell you this.
Yes.
In addition to professionally, I'm also a wife and a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother. I've been married for 41 years. Listen. 41. And so I know a lot of people are even grieving not only death, but some people are grieving divorce, grieving the breakup of relationships. But I'm just so honored and grateful to God that I've been married for 41 years to the same man. Yes. And it's a blessing.
Yeah, and he's an incredible guy. He
yes,
is.
He I love him.
Yes. So before we get started, It's Not Okay is such an engaging title. It is such an engaging title. What made you choose that title? And before we begin, we just want to make sure we're on. Our microphone is on. If we can put this on our lapel.
Okay.
And
let's
that's
get
okay.
that
That's something
All
that
right.
I normally will. Yes, so she has a great voice.
And hopefully you guys heard me already.
They did, because the boom is on and it
All
picks
right.
up quite a bit. So, yep. So before we get into this, the title, it's
Yes.
not okay, because that in itself, I went on, your page came up, thank God, and I said, it's not okay.
Not
I didn't
okay.
even know that your book was about grieving, but I immediately, that title is very intriguing. How did you come about that title?
So I tell you, it was during the course of several weeks in terms of counseling people and working with clients. But there was one particular day where I must have said it's not okay at least 10 to 20 times.
Oh.
And in talking to people, they were sharing with me some of the experiences they were going through and things that people were saying to them or things that had happened to them. And I just kept saying, it's not okay. 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 And I think towards the end of the day, when I said it's not okay to one of my clients, I said, it's not okay. Somebody ought to write that. And my client says, are you writing a book about that? And I kind of laughed. I thought, I should be. And I said, I am. And I hung up the phone and I prayed. And Stacey, I'm telling you, it was really miraculous, because I went to sleep and prayed, and the Lord just started downloading information and giving me what to say in terms of it's not okay. And what are the things that people do that are not okay? And when you look at the book, like you said, that's the first thing you notice before you even realize it was about grieving. And that's why I put grieving in this teal color, so that it would stand out a little bit. But not is in capital letters and all red, because I want people to realize it is not okay. And we need to stop doing some of the things that we're doing if we really care about people. And a lot of stuff we do it unintentionally.
Okay, and I'm going to get into that. I have some questions about that, because I might be guilty.
I think at some point we all have been guilty.
Yes. Okay. What's the difference? I saw on the on your website, and we'll talk about that too, because people, you're going to want to order this book, so you're going to want to know where to order this from. What's the difference between walking through grief and walking beside grief?
Yeah. So walking through grief is personal. Walking besides grief is presence. And so when you think about walking through grief, that's what I'm doing. That's my own personal experience. That's my pain. That's my process. But when I'm walking beside grief, that means I'm walking alongside someone else who is grieving. Yeah. And so we don't walk alongside ourselves.
Right.
We walk through it ourselves. And so we're talking about the difference between the two. One is how we process it, and one is who we're doing it with.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I can't wait to read this book.
Yeah. And you have to keep in mind too that each person is on their own personal journey.
Yes.
And so even as I'm walking alongside you, I'm walking alongside you while you're walking through.
Yes.
And
everybody's journey doesn't look alike. And I know sometimes the court of public opinion can be brutal. So now that we have social media,
yes,
and before then it just wasn't as, so now the court of opinion, because sometimes, especially a spouse, when someone who the public thinks has moved on.
Right.
But everybody, and we'll get into this. I know you got a lot to say about this. Okay.
About all of it.
Yeah. I saw on your website, careless words or unintended hurts. What is the appropriate thing to say to someone at a funeral or upon learning about a recent death?
When we first hear it, and it's unfortunate, our natural response is, "Oh, what happened?" That is not the thing to say. Not okay.
Not okay. It's on the list.
But the thing to say is, "I'm sorry," because we really are. I mean, it's like I'm really sorry that happened. I'm really sorry you're going through that. I'm really sorry you're having to deal with this. And so just simply saying, "I'm so sorry," or simply saying, "Oh my goodness, I will pray with you or pray for you." Or telling the person, I am right here. I'm going to be present as much as you need me to be.
Because I know family, a lot of times, they want to know.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's okay to set that boundary up.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because again, this is not you giving a narration about what happened. And people say, well, how did they die? Almost as if it was an accident, if it was natural causes, or if it was a murder, you're going to respond to me differently. I'm still hurt. I'm still in pain. I'm still experiencing absence of that person I love, regardless as to how it happened.
Yeah. And how does someone grieving deal? Well, we talked about that, deal with the nosy questions. And you talked, give me a great appropriate response to those nosy or inappropriate, untimely questions. I think you just said it again, but can you say that one more time? Yes.
For those people who just nosy, just want to
Yes.
know information.
Yes.
There's several things you can say. One, you can say, we're not responding to that at this time.
I like that. We're not responding at this time. I like that.
There may come a time when you want to talk about
Yes.
it, but not right now.
Right.
So we're not responding at this time, or the family has decided to keep that a private matter.
I like that. Yeah.
Thank you for asking, but I'd rather not say.
I like that. And because you don't have to spout off and cause further dissension or say some church words. As I remember, I would take a page out of your book. Sometimes those words form in your throat and don't even let it go to your mind and your throat.
No.
Just stay prayerful through that.
Stay prayerful. And the other thing to keep in mind is that you're not getting ready to do a podcast about what happened with your grief.
Yes.
So it's not like we're getting ready to play 20 questions, because as soon as you would say, well, what happened? And I answered that, well, how long were they sick?
I come from that family, though. And that's the thing. We don't come out the womb. I don't do it anymore. I learned a long time ago, and it was church that taught me not to do that. Also to have etiquette when going to visit people in the hospitals and funerals, and don't ask too many questions. Don't sit on beds and things like that.
That was good training.
Yeah, we did. That's a good etiquette. But for family that doesn't, should people grieving be more understanding toward these awkward, intrusive questions and comments?
And I want to say yes, but the reality is no.
Wow.
And it's interesting because I had one of my clients actually share with me. She says, Dr. Black, I am so sick and tired of having to teach my family how to respond to me.
Yes.
But the truth is, we are responsible for teaching people how to interact with us.
Yes.
Just like we teach people how to love with us, we teach them how to grieve with us. There's certain things that are acceptable. There's certain things that are not. And if I don't tell you, how will you know? You'll keep doing the same thing over and over again. So even though we don't want to have to be responsible for taking care of them too, the truth is you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Think about, because some of the things, like I mentioned earlier, when we come from families and upbringings where they do ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So sometimes I wonder, is it in people's psyche? But really, we've groomed.
Look, mama and them want to know.
And report back to headquarters.
Who want to know?
Yeah, they do. Because I wanted to know, is it something in our psyche? But are we born with that inquisitive nature? Because I know you have the mental health back. I'm talking to the expert, doctor. Those titles. I'm talking to the expert here that I've gone to talk to a few times, and she's a great, excellent counselor, and so a professional.
So yes, in some way we are born inquisitive, but it is from our family. It is from our upbringing. It is from society. We just want to know. I mean, the people say inquiring minds want to know. Even if you're not inquiring, you leaning in when somebody else talking because you want to hear. That's a lot of why people are on social media.
Yes.
Because they want to know what's going on, who doing what.
Yes.
And when you have something going on, people want to be involved in it.
Yes.
And Stacey, let me back up too and say that most people mean well.
Yes.
Most people do mean well. So when I'm asking out of concern, but I may be asking at the wrong time. Yeah. And so timing is key. And so there is a place to find out what happened, because people who are grieving do want to tell their stories. But I don't want to tell it while I'm in the middle of it.
Right.
Let me get a little bit past it. Let me plan for the funeral first before you start asking all the questions. Because then when people disappear, that's when I really wish I had somebody to talk to. And I'll tell you everything you want to know at that point.
That since we're talking about social media, we see this a lot, and we're not talking about anybody in particular. Should we go to social media the minute we lose somebody? Is that something that you would recommend? Well,
not so much recommend, but it's our current reality.
Okay.
You have to keep in mind too that social media is like the telephone. Yeah. It is like tell a friend. And so when something happens, the first thing we would do is we'd pick up the phone and we'd call somebody in the family who we knew would call other people in the family.
Yes.
And that's kind of what social media is. It's like our new outlet for public service announcements, for upcoming events, letting people know what's happening in our lives. And so when somebody dies, people are looking for it on social media. They want to know when is the funeral, when is the family hour, what's happening, where can we send information, where can we make donations, where can we send flowers, and usually it's posted.
What's the time that, and it depends on each person? Should people wait a certain time, maybe wait until after the arrangements, or wait a good 2 to 3 days before they broadcast, because of the questions and because people are going to want to know? And I recently, I've learned of someone had lost a loved one, and the first thing that, because of my family, let me know if you need something for the repast.
Right,
It was,
right.
and I sincerely was praying
Yeah,
for her.
yeah.
I'm praying for you. And let me know if you need something for the repast.
So let me reframe that question or statement, as opposed to let me know if you need something. Who is the person that's handling the repast?
Okay.
And talk to that person, because first of all, the person who is grieving has no idea what they need for the repast.
Right.
And when they need something, they're not going to remember to call you because they're in a fog.
Yeah, that's why I need this book.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's why I need this book. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so we just have to rethink how we ask the question. So there's a place to bring something, because they're gonna need lots of stuff. So it's who's handling the repass? Can I get that person's number? I'd like to help.
Yes. Okay.
Then that way they can give you the number, and you can help. Well, they'll say, no, it's okay, it's being handled. Either way. But the other thing is that people often need things at the house, and so if you want to help, you can bring stuff to the house. And even in that, if it's somebody you know well, you don't have to ask, what do you like? Just show up and bring something.
Yes.
And I always tell people to be practical. When you talk about this idea of being present, when you're being practical, don't take a bucket of chicken.
Yeah.
People get chickened out. They don't want no more chicken, and they don't need no more chicken. But what they need are basic things, like they need paper towel.
Yeah.
They need napkins, paper plates, paper cups. So be practical. Bring cases of water, bring pops, because people are always stopping by and they need
Cookies
something.
or something.
Yeah, something simple. So there's always something you can do.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. Recently, we lost one of the matriarchs in our family. And I tell you, in our family, we have a large family.
Yeah.
And sometimes the repast is planned before the arrangements. And so that's what we see.
Because everybody bringing their favorite dish.
Yeah.
She made good
first
string
thing,
beans.
right?
She made good macaroni
That's
and
the first
cheese.
thing we and so people start, our family starts with, they plan, the funerals are really big, it's important. It is a family reunion.
Yes. And you got to know, culturally, we center everything around food.
Yes.
And so it makes sense. And so food brings comfort. And so the fact that people want to show up and bring their favorite dish is a great thing. But I want to go back to your question you asked about when should we post it on social media. And that really depends on the individual. It depends on the family. It depends on who's tech savvy. Because that you may want to post it and may not have anybody in your family who does that kind of stuff.
Or you have the elders that are always angry because they know I'm not on social media. Why are they posting this? Somebody need to call me. You're
Somebody
right.
need to
Yes,
call me.
right.
So,
Somebody need to call me.
Again, and I'm trying to think, when my father died 2 years ago, I think we posted it probably that night.
Okay.
Because people knew that he had been rushed to the hospital. And it was kind of like, okay, what's going on with Deacon? Where is he? And so we were able to say, he's made his transition at this point.
Yeah. Wonderful. What are the stages of grief?
So people often talk about the stages of grief. And when you hear that, people are referring to Kubler-Ross. And you got to know that those were not stages of grief in terms of death. And they were not in terms of death. They were more about dying. And so it's more about anticipatory grief, or what are the stages you go through when somebody's getting ready to die.
Okay.
But once that person is now deceased, those stages don't work. Those are not the same stages. So it's not like you go from one step to the next and next, that you go from denial to bargaining to depression to acceptance. So you're not going here, there, here, there. You may go in like a wave. Grief comes in kicking the door down. So it's not like, okay, I've already gone through denial. I'm okay now. I know my next step is getting ready to be this, or my next step is getting ready to be that. You don't know. The other thing about grief is that there's no timeline. So there's no stopwatch, no clock that says, okay, so you've been grieving already for 2 weeks. You've been grieving already for 2 months. It's already been 2 years. It's time for you to be back in the swing of things. It's time for you to be back to work. When I think about companies that give you 3 days for bereavement, and that's nice. But you don't in three you really want me back to work in 3 days?
No.
I am so not thinking about this company
Right.
or this job or what I'm doing, because my mind is so many other places. But in 3 days we show up because that's the allotment we've been given. But we need a whole lot more time than that, because grief takes time, and it's not these stages that have been identified that people think are for death, but those are for dying.
I think you mentioned it earlier. Is grief contained just for the death of a person? I think you mentioned it could be the death of a marriage,
death of a marriage,
or
it could
career,
be career ending, it could be loss of mobility. People get sick and they can't do the things they used to do. They grieve that. It could be grief over expectations. The Bible talks about how hope deferred makes the heart sick. And when you lose something, that's hope deferred.
Yes.
It's like, I'll never be able to get married, or I'll never be able to have children. You grieve those things. Or even when people realize the trauma that they've been through in their childhood, sometimes they go back and they grieve the child that didn't get to grow up and do natural childhood things because they were somewhere taking care of a sick parent, or fighting off an alcoholic parent, or things like that. And so we grieve different types of things. And so in the book, we talk about the process of grief. Even though it focuses on death, it does equip people for dealing with any type of grief, whatever that may be.
I like that. And I never thought about that, the grief of mobility.
Yeah.
And the grief of, because sometimes people are stricken with illnesses, or even maybe for a short period of time.
Yes.
They may have a surgery or be not mobile for a period of time.
You may be in a car accident, or I think about so many people now having hip surgery. That's like a new thing: hip surgery and foot surgery, knee surgery. And you may be down for not just 2 weeks, but 2-3 months. And you grieve that because you're not getting a chance to go to places you used to go, do the things you used to do. You're not your same old self. And so it's an adjustment. And that's what grief is. It's the adjusting to whatever that loss has been.
Right. No expiration on grief. The book will help us manage it. Can we manage grief? Is that safe to? Is that a good term to use?
So again, we have a lot of good terminology that's not really that good.
That's why I'm glad we're having this podcast to help debunk some of this thinking that we have. Yes.
Right. So we don't really manage grief. We don't really manage anger. So we try to manage these different emotions and things.
We hear that word a lot, though, too.
Right. It sounds good.
Yes.
It teaches well. But the truth is, you don't contain grief. Grief has a mind of its own. It really does. And so what we try to do is enter into it. We try to be present with it because you don't get to avoid it. And what happens when we try to manage grief, we try to suppress it, we try to hold it down, we try to pretend we're okay. And people say, well, how you doing? Well, I'm fine. And you're lying. You're anything but fine.
I was going to try to work through my mother's death. And the Holy Spirit said, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't go to work or get busy so that you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
But process is what I heard. Yeah. Is that a good term?
Process is one of my favorite words. Because process means we're going through it, that we're working through it, that we're not ignoring it, that we're not pretending. And so often people pretend. And pretending is not helping anybody. When we are grieving, honesty is the best thing. And so if I'm being honest, some days I don't want to be bothered with nobody. Honesty is I don't want to talk on the phone. Honesty, I don't want to answer questions. Honesty, I'm lonely. Honesty, I can't sleep at night because the house is too quiet. Honesty, I'm mad because ain't nobody from the church called me in the last 2 weeks. Honesty is my best friend went back to her life and she ain't come to check on me. Honesty is what we need when we're grieving. That's process. Process is dealing with my anger about it and then releasing my anger and then forgiving and moving forward.
Releasing anger.
And I don't mean beating up on your pillow, getting no better, and that kind of stuff.
Because that's my question. Is there a bad way to grieve? Can you give me an example of a bad way to grieve and how it can be detrimental?
Yeah.
I have seen people, I've been judgmental because I've seen, I've lost my mom. It was, I'll never get over my, how can I say that? I mean, her birthday comes around and the special moments and, I want her to be there to see the kids graduate, but, we'll tell her in glory, but that really hard process, it just seemed like to be a year because there's the first Christmas, the first Thanksgiving, the first Mother's Day, and yet because you have memories and you have traditions of what you did. But I've seen other people, I've seen them on social media where they couldn't go to work or they couldn't do this or they couldn't do that. And I'm thinking, how come they couldn't? Why
like I said, people grieve differently. So you got a couple of questions going. So the one question is there a bad way to grieve?
Yes.
And yes.
Okay.
So you hate to say it.
Give me an example.
People always feel like, well, it's my process, it's my feelings, my emotions. Yes, it is. But some of the bad ways to grieve are when people drown themselves in alcohol or in substance use.
Okay.
Have a glass of wine if you want to. Have a shot of whiskey if you want to, but don't drink the bottle.
Right.
You know, and so you can't drink away your emotions. So sometimes people try to drown in their sorrow, and that's not a good way to grieve. You know, I know people have recreational marijuana and other things that they do. Not a good way to grieve, because you don't want to become dependent on something else. You want to be able to feel what you feel and go through it. Another thing that's not good, isolation is not good.
Wow.
The enemy will beat you up if you isolate yourself. Tell you don't nobody care about you. You in this by yourself. Maybe you shouldn't live. You shouldn't be here. You need community when you are going through.
And that's something that you want to do when you are grieving. And I remember family saying, no, come over for Christmas.
Yep.
But mom really, so what? Come
on
over.
over, yeah.
Don't be locked up in that room by yourself.
There you go.
Come over. Yes.
Yeah, and there are some times when, you know, you do want to be alone, and that's okay, but it can't be for every occasion.
Right, exactly.
You
Every
know,
holiday.
and so that's the thing in terms of there's some bad things to do when you are grieving, like isolation and or substance use or abuse. You know, the other thing in terms of challenges, I know people say, well, you know, you shouldn't be angry with God. Well, you can be if you want to be.
Yes.
You're disappointed.
Yeah.
You know, you prayed and you feel like your prayer wasn't answered, or God didn't meet you where you needed him to meet you. And so it's okay. God can handle our emotions. And I'm so thankful for that. So, you know, don't tell people not to be angry. Don't tell everybody be strong. I mean, I hate to hear that. You need to be strong for the kids. You got to be strong for the family. And, you know, you need to feel what you feel. And, you know, let them feel it as well.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
Is this book for unbelievers?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
This book is not only for unbelievers, it's for different cultures, different ethnicities. Everybody can benefit from this book. And that's been such a blessing to me. I mean, I've had several different people cross-culturally who have reached out to me saying, hey, I need to get your book, because grief is universal. It is the human experience. We all experience loss at some point. So it is for everybody, including unbelievers. Because even if you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in Jesus, if you don't pray, if you don't go to church, you are still in pain.
Yes.
And it's still good to know what to do when you're feeling a certain way. It's still good to know how to help people who are going through. And remember, this book is not just for the person grieving, but it's for the person who's trying to help.
Have you ever heard, and this is more of a physical thing, I think, but I'm not sure if there's physical, mental, emotional wrapped into this. I've heard of people dying from a broken heart.
Yeah.
Can you go into that and explain what that means to die of a broken heart? I do understand that there is that your heart can, maybe the stress can.
The stress of it's called cardiomyopathy.
Okay.
And now let me say, I'm not a medical doctor.
Right.
You know, but I do know
Okay.
that it is such a thing as dying of a broken heart. It's like your heart enlarges. It's almost like when you think about how you're gasping for air in terms of your lungs, your heart is almost like it's emptying and squeezing. And sometimes the pressure of the stress of the loss that you're going through can put too much pressure on your heart. And your heart stops.
When people are experiencing any kind of symptoms, what should their next step be?
Definitely call 911 if it's a heart issue, for sure. And if it's a lung issue, call 911. But other than that, you need to have some people on speed
Maybe
dial.
go seek therapy for that? Would you recommend?
I
Yes,
wouldn't even say therapy right away. You know, and I'm a therapist, because there are other things you can do before that point. But if it's physical, if it's your heart, if it's your lungs, call your doctor. You know, if there's loneliness, call a friend. You know, but if you are starting to have like just heart palpitations, if you have tension in your neck and your back, if you're having ongoing headaches, sometimes people get like massive gastro problems and intestinal problems, then you do want to get therapy.
Medical. Okay.
Yeah, because you can talk through some of that, because definitely our body holds the grief. You know, and so even though it may be a year or 2 or 3 from now, you find out that, you know, your back just still hurt real bad. That may be grief lodged in your back. It may have settled there. And so that's why I tell people, if you are in physical pain, you may need to talk to somebody.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, grief lingers.
Yes.
And that's why I say processing is so important, because if you don't process it, it shows up other places. So it will be dealt with. You don't get to bury grief alive.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad we're doing this interview. I wasn't ready for that. I'm so glad. This is wonderful. What's the time frame on dating after the loss of a spouse?
So let me go back to your last question about your broken heart.
Okay.
Because if your heart is broken, it needs to mend before you start dating.
Right.
That's
Exactly
the first thing.
right.
You know, and I know the thing is that people are lonely. If you've lost somebody, you're lonely, especially if it was a dating relationship or a marriage relationship. Somebody been married 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. My parents were married 68 years, and that leaves a void.
Yes.
Because that person was your whole
close
life.
friend.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's where you spent your time.
Yes.
Right.
Close friend.
You did everything
Companion,
together.
confident, everything.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so when should you start dating? No time soon. I try to encourage people to wait at least 6 months to a year before they make any major decision of any kind. Don't move, don't leave town, don't get married, don't go buy a new car, even though you got insurance money. Just wait.
6 months within losing someone. You
Right.
said don't. Now that's
major
interesting.
decision.
I like that. No, don't buy a car, don't buy a home.
Don't move out of town.
What's behind that? Is that
you in a fog?
Yeah.
You ain't thinking straight. And a lot of times people feel like they relieved, like the person was sick. I've been caregiving
They would want
all
me
this
to.
time. They would
Yeah.
want me to. Wait. Take a deep breath. Give yourself a chance to process everything, think everything through, and make rational decisions. Don't just rush out because you got insurance money and start buying up stuff. Because you may also have bills you need to pay. Burying people is not cheap. It's expensive.
Correct.
Especially if they were somebody good, because you want to go all out. And that costs double, triple sometimes. And so in terms of dating, wait 6 months to a year. And I know people often tease and say, there's somebody waiting in the wing. They've been waiting on you. Brother so-and-so at the church been looking at you and waiting on so-and-so. Sister so-and-so, she want to bring you a pie.
That's kind of scary, though. You're waiting on my honey to die. No, that's
you always been a good woman, Stacey.
Right.
And somebody needs to take care of you.
No.
But you do have, and those people are not predators. Those people care about you. They want to be able to provide services for you and to help you and to walk alongside you, those kind of things. But not now. What you need in those first 6 months to a year is a relationship with the Lord.
So for the person that is starts to date, let's say a good year after their spouse passes away, how do they explain dating, especially maybe to in-laws or whatever? Is that something that they need to explain? Because a lot of times people feel, you can't cheat on someone that is passed.
Right.
But
right.
you know how families, that can be kind of convoluted.
So one of these is not so much that you're cheating on them. And the other thing is, it's not their business.
Right.
And if you're 18, you're grown.
Right.
So you don't have to explain to anybody why you're doing anything. But what people tend to think is that you've forgotten about the person that died. And they are still remembering them, and they don't want you to go on without them. And again, everybody's processing differently. And so if there's children involved, you may want to give the children an opportunity to get to know the person, to talk through what's getting ready to happen next, because you don't have things like, well, that's not going to be my daddy, that's not going to be my mom, or whatever. So you do want to deal with your children, but the other adults in your life, they don't really have a say. But that's what I'm saying. You got to wait at least 6 months to a year, because you want to make sure you're in your right mind before you start making those decisions about getting in a relationship or marrying or moving forward. Because if you have other people that you're accountable to, they may see something you don't see. And that's what's happening in those first 6 months, where your head is just in a fog. You're so overwhelmed by the grief and the loss. You need somebody who cares about you to be able to say, you know what, this person ain't the right one. Because you may not see that. You may just see they show up, they come through, they helping me pay my bills, they bringing me food, they taking me out. You see all the good stuff, because that's all you're able to see in that moment. But your family and friends will see something else. And so you want to be listening to those people in those first 6 months. But once you get past that point, you're a year later, you've dealt with some stuff, you've processed, and you're ready to go ahead and move on and relate to some other people. You don't need nobody's permission to do that. You're grown.
Yep, you're correct. The loss of a pet.
Yeah. So
does this book, do you address that a little bit?
Now, I should have, and I did not. I gotta say, I did not. But it's grief.
Yes.
And I address grief, and that's the thing. We have to learn to be sensitive. And I'm sure I mentioned pets in the book, but it's not specifically what to do about a person who's lost a pet. Because you have to realize that for a lot of families, the pet is family.
Yes.
Whether it's a dog, a cat, a bird, a fish, they have become an integral part of daily living. And again, remember, we talk about grief as the absence of something you care about or something you love.
Yes.
And so when a person loses a pet, they are grieving just as much as they lost a sister or brother.
Yeah.
And you may not understand that. You may not agree with that. You may not be a pet person. but you have to acknowledge that this person is going through. And you wonder, why are they over there crying over that dog?
Right.
Why are they
Right.
sad about the
Right.
cat?
Yeah.
You know, I remember my brother lost a cat that he'd had for 17 years. That cat was old.
Yes.
And we knew, and I think that everybody in the house was kind of nervous. It's like, we know the cat is old. We hope nothing happens to the cat, but we knew something would. And we were wondering, will he be able to handle it?
Wow, it's very
Because the cat was like, I mean, it's so funny. This cat was almost like a dog. You would walk him to the store.
Yeah. Wow.
Literally walk
Okay.
behind him and sit outside the store for him to
wow.
come back out.
Okay.
Talking about family. This cat was
Right.
family. Everybody knew FX. You know.
Right. I like the
But
name.
when the cat died, it was somber and it was quiet. And it was almost like, do you mention the cat? And I mentioned the cat. But you knew that he was grieving and the cat. And eventually somebody came and brought him a new one.
Okay. And that comes up often as well. When do
Yeah.
you replace your pet? But that would be a personal.
It's personal,
Yeah.
you know, and we weren't going to replace the cat because we weren't sure even wanted another cat, you know, because nobody can replace FX. But we have a new cat called Beautiful.
Oh, okay.
And somebody, the person who brought it was such a blessing because they were trying to respond to his grief because they had also lost a cat and they knew what it was like and how lonely it was. They waited for about maybe 3 months or so, but then they showed up not only with the cat, Beautiful, the cat had been groomed, had shots already, came with a certificate, came in a portable case with the little bed for the cat. I mean, they must have been almost $500-$600 on all this stuff for this cat. But they showed up and ministered in a way that none of us even thought to do.
Correct.
And it made a difference.
Yeah.
So pets are important and don't minimize when somebody you know loses a pet. Go and comfort them as well.
Yeah. I think about that too. Not so much, but sometimes people, do you think, is it normal for people to want to replace it? Now let's talk about a human where they want to replace their spouse. Is that normal? Is that part of the grieving where people want to, is it normal for people to want to replace somebody?
It's normal for us to replace things in general.
Okay.
But you can't replace a person.
You can't. Yeah,
You know,
you can't.
nobody's going to be like my daddy.
Yeah, right.
Nobody's going to be like my husband. Nobody's going to be like my friends. Nobody's going to be like me. You know, and so all of you who love me and care about me when I'm gone, get you a new friend.
One of a kind right here.
Like
One
me.
of a kind. Right, exactly.
Listen,
right.
But our tendency is to want to not only just replace, but to have comfort, to have companionship, to have somebody beside us. And so you're not looking to replace that person. You're just looking for companionship.
Okay.
We don't want to grow old alone. And we don't want to be by ourselves. And when you're used to having somebody around, you miss that. And you don't want to miss that too long.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah. Question. So we'll go back to the person, maybe a spouse, losing a spouse. I've heard, and somebody I know wrote a movie about it called A Widow's Fire. You know what that is?
She burning with passion, sound like.
Yes. Is it psychological or physiological?
Girl, it's both.
Oh.
Yeah, you're thinking about it, you're longing for it, you're wanting it, and your body is burning with passion. You know, the thing is, if you've been married before, your body is used to sexual activity.
Yeah, it is.
Even if it's not frequent,
Yeah.
you know, because everybody not having sex every day, you know. And so if it was only once a week, once a month, whatever it was, that arousal has been awakened. And so your body longs for that stimulation. Your body longs for that caress. Your body longs to be cuddled, to be held, you know. And so that fire that's burning, and I need to watch that movie because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But it's a real thing. And you know, and that's one of the things, that's why I say don't make no major decisions in the first 6 months to a year. Because you end up hooking up with the wrong guy.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah,
he's
that's what
saying
the
the right
movie-
thing.
I don't want to give
you
away
know,
the movie, but
and, you know, because again, we want to be held.
Yes.
You know, and that's a natural comforting thing. But you know, that hugging can go to rubbing, and that rubbing can go to touching in all the wrong places.
Yes.
And it'll just stimulate you to the point that you forget to stop.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll end up making some decisions that you regret later.
Okay.
You know, so you want to wait, especially if you're a Christian, you want to wait and honor and the vows you made before the Lord, and you want to honor the sanctity of your body, and you don't want to just be giving your body away because you're on fire.
Yeah.
Now the question becomes, Stacey, how you put that fire out? Did they say that in the movie?
I can't. It's been a few years since I saw it, but it's and the screenwriter who wrote that, she was a widow. Not whether or not she went through that, I didn't ask her.
Yeah.
I don't know, but she She
It's a real
literally, it
thing.
was, I know it was a cathartic thing for her to write that
Absolutely.
script, and we loved it. It was an excellent movie.
People
But
don't talk about
I
it.
thought that was something she made up just for the
No,
sake
no,
of
no, no.
entertainment. And she explained to us that this is a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Yes, and
It's
it
a
was
real
kind of
thing.
scary though, because it's like, ooh, you know, but
you know,
it's a
I
real
think
thing. But
about
it's
that.
normal. You know, we have feelings. God gives us.
But because people don't talk about those kinds of things, especially in church settings.
Right.
You know, what are all the widows doing?
Yeah.
You know, how are they handling their sexual urges? How are they putting out the fire?
Yes.
You know, and everybody not taking a cold shower, and everybody don't want to be in the knitting and the crochet class. You know, and so that's part of why they long for relationship too. You know, and so again, but wait before you rush out and do anything. Just wait.
Yeah. Oh wow. This this is we don't. I have so many. You know, I almost want to have you back on this
Well,
show
you can at
because
some point in the future. I'd love to come back again.
because this has been amazing. I can see many ministries birthed out of this book. This is awesome. Grieving is global. People all over the world
Yes,
grieve.
yes.
And that's why this podcast can go to different countries, because what we're talking about is just not a Detroit or Michigan or
Well,
U.S.
yeah,
thing.
absolutely.
And we know it's delicate. Is that a good word to say? Grieving
Delicate.
can be delicate.
It can be delicate.
Okay.
Yeah, because you have to be gentle with the person who's going through.
Yeah.
And the person who's going through needs to be gentle with those who are walking alongside them.
Yeah. And I know we're going to close soon, but sometimes when people are grieving, and just we talked about that detrimental part of grieving, where people, if they don't do that properly, they can ruin some relationships. Have you seen that?
I have.
Okay.
You know, and just even in terms of transparency, I would even say there's some relationships in my own life that have been ruined as a result of that.
Okay.
And it's been hard. And that's one of the things I talk about in the book. It's a chapter about forgiveness. You know, how do you forgive people who didn't get it right? Because so many of us missed the mark.
Oh, yeah, I know I have.
You know, and even as I was writing the book, Stacey, there were parts where I was actually in tears, where I could think about people that I should have been there for. And not to say that I didn't show up, because I always show up, but I wasn't as present as I could have been or should have been from their perspective. Now, mind you, you can't be there for everybody at all times for everything. But there are certain people who are looking for you to show up. And they don't care who else is in the crowd. They're looking for your face. And I know there were some of those types of relationships where my face wasn't there. And even though I may still talk to the person, be connected to the person, the relationship is not the same. And I've asked for forgiveness, and I've acknowledged that I was wrong. I've acknowledged that I know they were disappointed. And
Well, see, that's what I love about you. I won't get into detail about she teaches. I forgot the name of the class. I'm gonna kind of go off script a little bit. There was a class that you taught at our former church.
Self-confrontation. I teach a lot of biblical counseling classes. But so I don't know if it was that one or another one.
There was a class that changed my life. They get emotional.
I thought I'd be the one crying on the show today.
Because there was a class where sometimes you can have a fall in Christ and think that you're damaged goods and that God can't use you. But your class, God used you to let me know. You asked me to get in that class. You discerned and sensed that I needed to be in that class.
Amen.
And that class changed my life.
Oh, thank you.
Because you're not fit for ministry if you can't get past hurts and pains and those hurdles of a fall or whatever. But you are an amazing person that you teach those workshops. You keep it real. You keep it, because you talked about some things, and we were in church, and I'm like, did she just say what I thought? But that's what we love about you, because you keep it real about what people are going through. You don't sugarcoat anything.
Amen.
And you keep it real.
Well, you know, my new thing, I keep hearing all the young people say that life be lifing.
Yeah. Life be lifing. Yes.
I say, you know, life be lifing, but I be living.
Yeah.
Like that. So, you know, so even though life is happening to all of us, and it is, you know, whether we're grieving losses, whether we have broken relationships, whether we have a past that we're burdened by because of choices that we've made, we still get to live life.
Are you doing any workshops on this book?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So I'm available for churches, for small groups, for organizations to come in and do one-time presentations, to do symposiums, to do things online,
Okay.
as well as to do classes. I'm currently teaching a class right now at a church in Southfield. It was an 8-week experience, and it's not necessarily a support group, even though it has a support group element. We're actually walking through components of the book and talking about how to grieve. And so in the class, we've had a person who had just lost a son the week before. Somebody came to the class because was in another class and heard about it, and their mother passed. They showed up. Some people are in the class because they've lost siblings, lost children, parents 2 and 3 and 4 years ago. And so the class was for everybody who was grieving anything. And so, yes, I'm open to come and facilitate workshops, to do classes, to do small groups regarding the book and grief and other matters as well.
Yeah. Can you, because I want you to tell people what website or how they can they purchase the book and exactly how they can get in touch with you. But is it possible to give 3 real good takeaways? Is that fair to ask you that? To give the our viewers and listeners 3 good takeaways from
So one of the things to keep in mind in terms of 3 good takeaways is, one, it's not okay to probe into people's lives and ask them a lot of insensitive questions. That's not okay. It's not okay to not be present when people are going through, because they really do need you. And it's not okay to ignore whatever your own personal pain might be. So those are 3 things that I would say are not okay. Now, some other 3 quick things in terms of practical things for people, in terms of takeaways, is show up. Your presence matters. You don't have to have the right words. You don't even have to say anything. Think about Job. When his friends came, they threw down for the first week. They ain't say a word. It's when they start talking that they messed up.
Yeah.
So show up and be silent. Just be present. The other thing is be practical. When you show up, bring something with you. Don't ask people if they need anything. They need lots of things. Show up and bring something with you. And the last thing, in terms of a practical takeaway, is know that everybody grieves, and people grieve differently. Because a person's not crying and falling apart doesn't mean they've gotten over it and they've gone on. Don't think that your strong friend doesn't need you. Your strong friend needs a strong friend. They need somebody that they can cry on and lean on as well. And so be present. Show up.
I like that. Yeah. Wow. I am buying my book today. I am. And for those that want, because there are going to be people that want to buy your book.
Yes.
And I can see churches wanting to buy your book and booking you there very soon. How can somebody buy this book?
Absolutely. So, of course, the book is listed on Amazon. It's listed at Barnes & Noble. But you can also go to books.buy. That's B-Y. Books.buy/Dr. Sabrina Black. That's a book by Sabrina Black. Books.by/Dr. Sabrina Black. And that's the best place to get the book. It also gives you a write-up, a whole synopsis about the book, and additional information as well. People who are trying to reach me can go to my website, which is drsabrina.net. drsabrina.net. And of course, for those of you who just want to call me and say, well, can I call and talk to you? Can I call and make an appointment? Because I've been counseling. I've been grieving a long time, and I need somebody to walk alongside me. Absolutely. If you need to book me for something, call the office, and that's at 313-201-6286. And again, that number is 313-201-6286.
Awesome. And as we close, I have a special gift for you. Yes. And so this is from Global Impact with Stacey J.
You.
It's a very special gift for you. It has truly been a blessing. She has something to say. And she really debunked some myths and debunked some thinking that we have, that we've been taught. And that's what I love about you. You know, you're very candid and straightforward. You shoot straight from the hip, but you correct us with love.
Amen.
And that there's a proper way to process.
Absolutely.
Grief. So we want to thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. for our audience. And don't forget to click like and share the Facebook page, Global Impact with Stacey J, and our YouTube page as well. Comment, and we're going to leave Dr. Black's information on the on this podcast, so that please get in touch with her if you want to book her, please. And we'll also put your Amazon link and your website to the book. We'll put all of that information here. But please, if you want to get in touch with her, and she has truly been instrumental in my life in the world of trafficking, with my script, A Dream Deferred, and also with a personal issue that I've had in my life. And Dr. Black has been instrumental with me being able. I could not minister, and I could not facilitate women's ministry at my church. I just could not do that without having taken that class. So I just want to thank you so much for being you. So we're going to log off, but thank you again. I'm Stacey J, and I had something to say. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Global Impact with Stacey J. Now, if you heard something that inspired you, or if you know someone who would benefit from this content, please tag and share this podcast on your social media. If you have questions or concerns for me or our guests, don't hesitate to comment or email me at globalimpactwithstaceyj@gmail.com. And that's Stacey with the EY. You know what? You could be watching anything, but thank you for taking the time out to watch our podcast. Don't forget, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And again, that's Global Impact with Stacey J.
Listen up, everybody, come and gather around. Let's listen to the hottest podcast in town. It's the Global Impact with your girl Stacey J. It's covering all the topics, not gossip, no way. Cause she got something to say, yeah. Says she got something to say, Stacey J.